Probably into February, we've seen a lot more activity.
BusinessJournalDaily.com. 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers. Fiercely local, fiercely loyal.
Into the first month of Q4 of last year, into pretty much through January was the first lull in the market that we've probably experienced in a long time. We've had listings that were on the market, without contracts, a little longer days on the market. And, we really experienced that, which, resulted into some, price reduction, some adjustments, and a little bit, like I said, a little longer days on market. And that was about, second half of Q4 and into the beginning of Q1. And again, all the way back to post-pandemic, that's the first we've really experienced, some slowdown there, why, a lot of different reasons. You can probably hear, everybody said, blamed it on the election year. Everybody was watching, the feds and the lowering interest rates and what was happening in mortgage rates. Was that a factor? And obviously on a local level, unlike, same time last year, we had 70-degree weather compared to, sub-0 degree weather. On a local market, or the weather comes into play. So I just think it was a combination of a lot of things that experienced that. Probably into February, we've seen a lot more activity. Recently, over the last 30 days, we've seen a lot more activity. Some of the price adjustments have kicked in. Been getting a lot more pendings. And we have seen an uptick. What hasn't changed, and even statistically, closed properties, in February last month, it was down. So closings were down probably 10%. The interesting thing, though, is closings went down, but guess what went up? And we've seen this before. The median house pricing, it went up 7%. So prices. We don't see that prices have been affected by the little lull in the market, because they have actually creeped up a little bit, maybe stabilized a little bit.
Do you see pricing remaining relatively stable the rest of the year, or do you think it's going to inch back up?
Well, it's already inched back up. Like I said, the one median price is up 7%. So it is itching up a little bit. As more inventory, but yet inventory has been increasing. So it either stabilizes and kind of maintains the same. I don't see anything drastic as far as price raises going way up, because they didn't really come down from this little lull that we had in the market. And what I do see, which is kind of interesting, is you're going to say, oh, is it transition? Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? What I have seen, affected, maybe not so much price point, but seller concessions. Let's face it, compared to the post-pandemic market when it was crazy, in a really, really strong market, I've seen a little bit more sellers concessions. We still have multiple offers, but less multiple offers. Days on market a little bit more. So we had the day where buyers would go and be forced to not even do a home inspection, compared to now a little bit more traditional and a little bit more level playing field, where they do home inspections. They may ask for some repairs now. They may ask for seller concessions. They may ask for negotiations, during the transaction, compared to just moving on to the next backup offer, like previously in the crazy market that we experienced.
Yeah.
So I see a little bit more in seller concessions, and buyers not being, at the mercy of such a strong seller's market. So I have seen that probably take more effect than, let's say, for an example, a couple years ago, a contingent on a sale of a buyer's home. That was unheard of. You wouldn't even a seller would never even accept an offer that was contingent on a sale of a home. And we see that now, which goes back to a little bit more seller concessions.
BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers. Fiercely local, fiercely loyal.